Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll let everyone get situated, including Yoni and Eugene, and then we'll get going. So we have. I'm excited about today. We did some meetups a while ago, and we're committed to do these things on a monthly basis. So we're going to start off with three of the best people I can think of to sort of have a panel discussion and take your questions and have a little bit of fun and see if the other Eugene can stump us. So I put the challenge out to him, and let's see if we can make it happen. But I promise no PowerPoint, but I have a couple slides, and it's just something for housekeeping more than anything else. So that says there is a chat piece, and then there's also a Q&A piece. Do we see that? Is it there? Yeah, there's a Q&A piece under the more button, or it might be in your panel. So on that note, let's get going, guys. So let me share my screen real quick.
Hello.
So I'll introduce these guys in a second. So
Shane and Doug, you know the trick with drink during a Zoom meetup, right? If I do this, it looks like tea, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say before the webinar, you're like, I'm going to get some tea. I know it's funny that color of tea you got there.
It's late in Israel. You could do that, right? It's 5 p.m. Is that right? It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
5 o'clock
it's
somewhere.
5 o'clock in Israel. This is what we love. So let's get going. So first of all, this is our 12th meetup, and it's our first one this year. And like I said, we're going to be doing these each year. We have a great panel for you today. Please feel free to ask as many questions as you want. I've written down a few, but let's go off track, and it's up to you, right? You know, at the end of the day, this community is for you. So please let us know how we can help you, right? We do things sort of our way, or at least the way based on what we hear and my ideas and what have you. But it's really for you. So if there's anything we can do for you, please let us know. You know, at the end of the day, you know, ControlUp cares. So let us know how we can help you. If you're not already a member of the ControlUp community, please join. There's the link right there. And like I said, this is the first meetup. So we have the second one of this year coming May. We'll do these once a month. And we have Chris with us to do a dashboards masterclass. So he's going to build them, tear them apart, answer your questions, show you anything you want, and really dive into the depths of ControlUp dashboards. So that QR code, if you want to snap a quick picture of it, or I'll send it to you in an email after the fact, and you can join this, and we would love to have you monthly with us. So on that note, today's panel. So we have three folks. I couldn't ask for three better folks here. So we have Yoni, who's our co-founder, been with the company, since day one. We have Eugene, which I never know what to call Eugene. He just said, just call me an expert. Well, I had like uber expert, so he was dumbing it down a little bit.
Man behind the curtain.
Yeah, and an old timer
whole
too.
sack of troubles right here.
Yeah. So and then we have Shane, and Shane is not working with ControlUp, but he's been working with ControlUp as long as anybody in the world.
One of the founders as well, man.
It's OG, man. I'm what do they call it? Silent partner.
Just a founder without any stocks, man. That's the only thing.
No,
I'm still waiting for that. You know, Yoni was drunk one night. He's like, "Hey, listen, I'm going to take care of you." I'm still waiting. It 15 years later. That's all right. One day
we'll get there, man. So have some patience. Come on.
Have some patience. So that's
I've been since 2014, right? Day one. You guys are at the conference and got me with the tequila behind the scenes. So, but yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm really excited to be here today.
Yeah, I'm really glad you guys can all join, and so let's have a little bit of fun here. Let me open up the chat and make sure I can see this. Definitely feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A piece. I'll be monitoring that also. And let's have a little bit of fun. So my first question is actually for Shane, because although he's like a founder, he's been here forever, but he's also the quote unquote outsider, and he works for a partner. He's out there seeing people each and every day. So the ControlUp evolution, right? You know, we've changed a lot since you guys founded this company, and Shane, you were brought into it via tequila bottle, I guess. But the ControlUp evolution, most people still know ControlUp as VDI monitoring tool. What's changed, and how should customers think where it fits today, especially alongside the tools they already have?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and there's been a huge evolution of ControlUp since since day one, it was really, you know, kind of started as really a VDI company and really just blew everyone's minds. I remember I was the first, I think it was a Synergy with the real-time dashboard, right? Every 3 seconds was a grid, seeing that performance come in. It really just changed the game, right? No, very limited, you know, no real infrastructure, all ran in RAM, right? And that's how, you know, ControlUp was known and done just a fantastic job. But over the years, you know, ControlUp's done so much more, right? It was never just a monitoring company. It was really an operations company, really built from the ground up with these guys here in the team as actual consultants in the field. So they knew the tools, touching it every single day, and knew the challenges that we were all facing out in the field. But one of the cool things is, you know, over the years, there's been some really nice acquisitions to bring into the stack, right? So, you know, one of the acquisitions was really around, you know, now today is CU for desktops, but was really an agent that goes on the actual desktop, right? On the actual edge on those laptops, right? And so giving you that kind of that last mile metrics, bringing that into the stack, which is really big. But then, you know, over the years, so taking all that data from the edge, and then also taking in, getting, you know, over the years, looking at things like, you know, as we expand from VDI and EUC, it was like, well, what's happening to the application landscape? Well, we're going from traditional applications, which we still have a lot of them. They're not dying anytime soon. We're moving into this SaaS applications and you know, SaaS apps. And so, you know, they started creating, you know, they have a browser extension for the SaaS applications, being able to see that. And then there was like, well, we're having these challenges on all these laptops. Well, you know, we got to make sure they're compliant. And so they started getting into compliance and getting into, you know, third-party patching and compliance, and then now Intune integration. And then so there's all over the years, all that's happening, and all this data is being captured, right? They're capturing all these signals from the endpoint, from all the different environments, all the different customers, all anonymized, and now have this big set of data where they're now training and getting into areas like, you know, AI, which we're going to get into today. So really just a wealth of information. And then with that, they got into automation, which is great, has always been at the core, but being able to actually automate, you know, a lot of those things. So not just, you know, capture, but also get the you actually take action on what's being seen. And so kind of, and really, you know, you see digital employee experience. I mean, ControlUp really invented that space, right? It was really about, now it's like, you got all these signals, that's awesome, got all this data. How do I bring it all up into this dashboard, what they call the employee dashboard? And that's what's really exciting, is they're taking all that data that we captured over the years, and they're really, instead of having to hunt and peck for where that problem is, it's all kind of being put front and center as an employee with a score. And that's just a start. But with you said, you know, like you said, Doug, is you know, well, how does that interact with the tools you already have, right? And that's always been, you know, a challenge as companies start to expand. They start to overlap with existing tools, and some of those tools can be consolidated. You know, things like remote control. But one of the most simplest things that you guys release that I absolutely love is Enrich. And I'll just stop there. I could keep going forever. I could talk 45 minutes about all the exciting things. But I just the Enrich is really bringing all that directly into the browser to any SaaS application, right? It's just a slide out, and that's just amazing. Being able to enrich each of those applications.
Eugene is indeed one of the, you know, the data experts here, and Enrich is a very popular feature for sure. I want to just a quick thing, Doug, from my perspective on the same question on the evolution. I'm sure, you know, Eugene will have nice feedback as well. But one thing that really pops up to me, as long as we did, you know, VDI monitoring, right? This was the fact for a long time, probably until 2020. One great way to see the evolution is the number of ControlUp admins at our customer sites, right? So when we just did VDI, the biggest customers, right? The biggest banks, the biggest insurance companies, they never had more than 20 or 30 ControlUp admins, right? It's like the Citrix team, the VDI team, and maybe a few folks from help desk. Today, and Eugene can you know, validate me with the numbers, but we are seeing customers with 2 or 3 or 400 ControlUp admins. And to me, that's the whole story of the evolution in one statistic, right? Because how can you get to 400, you know, admins in a large enterprise? It means they're using it for remote control, for application monitoring, for desktop engineering, for tier 1 ticketing. So it's so many different groups in an enterprise, and that's maybe to me, it's the coolest, you know, way to see the evolution from, you know, a point solution with 5 to 20 admins now to hundreds of admins. And I'm not exaggerating, this is the numbers we're seeing, right? Like
hundreds are, that's the largest deployments, that's the case. And in the VDI world, the largest deployments we used to see were like help desk, maybe 20, 30 20, 30 help desk representatives. That used to be like the largest deployment. So yeah, and that's one thing that is definitely different. And another one I think is surely like our history was starting with VDI and then expanding into that physical desktop territory. But in terms of the conversations that we're having and the type of information and the type of challenges that we have to deal with, I think it's a totally different world, right? So there is a huge difference between those customers where we started off as a VDI, as a solution for monitoring the VDI, and then expanded kind of from there. So there we kind of maybe still talking kind of to the same people, right? But maybe slowly expanding to other teams. But the newer customers that know us from the physical desktop side, I think the whole approach and the whole also the type of people, right? The type of engineers and the type of the skill sets and the challenges and what they're looking for is kind of different. It's not a copy paste, right? It's not like the same stuff that used to be interesting from the VDI. And I think the main shift, right, the parallel shift in like that ran in parallel to what we did with the market was also a shift of attention from analyzing performance based on resources towards a more deck-centric, right, user experience-centric approach, where the thing that matters is actually what the users are experiencing versus how much of the resources are currently consumed. I think that happened kind of in parallel to that. And those two major things are kind of like very market, very like huge differences between where we started the journey and where we are now.
Perfect. See, I have a question from the audience. So, and it's a great segue, or it's a great question. Is ControlUp primarily for the web now and not for on-prem? Where do we stand with on-prem? I knew this question would come up. It always does, right?
Man. I thought this would come in the last 5 minutes, but that's I would love to see what Shane sees in the US. But here's the thing, right? As it stands today, we have our primary solution, right? The DEX platform with all the bells and whistles, it's a cloud-only solution, right? That's the fact. It's what it is. We do maintain and fully support the ControlUp for VDI on-premises solution. And we have, I would say, at least 150 customers using it worldwide. A lot of them are, in Germany and a few other, European countries and in Israel, and we do have some in the US. And that's, continue to be supported. We even released a new version, albeit mainly with security fixes and whatnot, but it's still happening. But here is where it's becoming interesting, right? And I don't want to turn this in a political debate, but our European teams are coming to us quite a lot lately, and they're like, hey, we do see quite a few European customers who are having second thoughts about the cloud in general, and more specifically, Azure and AWS, and they're like, hey, we may go back to local data centers either this year or next year. And this is becoming a thing. I'm not sure in the US it's the same, but due to that, we are now looking at all kinds of options of whether we want to package our big platform in a way that can be hosted on local data centers.
Yeah, like local container type, like localized PaaS type system.
Exactly, because in the end,
automated,
the whole stack is basically containers, running on Kubernetes clusters. So it is doable. It's a lot of work, but it's doable. So we are now actually engaging with some of those European prospects and customers to see, what they think about the options we have in mind. So to your, to the audience question, Doug, we fully support VDI on premises today with some, parity gaps between the cloud solution, but we are considering our on-premises future, especially due to trends happening in EMEA, right? So we'll see.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, for us to answer your question on that, Yoni, I mean, we're seeing a hybrid. I mean, basically a lot of folks over rotated everyone jumped to cloud and they realized, governance is very different. Operational practices are very different. Yeah, a lot of people did lift and shifts. They took everything as is, and they realized when they go into the cloud, performance, they were used to this really localized performance, right? Everything's right there. Now you're on shared infrastructure, you're on t-shirt sizes, 4x8, 8x32, and they had to go learn all these things. And then the operational practices are way different. And so it caused a lot of, obviously, costs drove through the roof, right? And so we're seeing folks obviously start to make a comeback, but really for the right use cases, right? So some folks, the ones that are doing it right are doing the analysis and they're doing like replatforming where it makes sense. And obviously, we do, I guess, the shout out to Nutanix for us. I mean, we've been working with them since, much like you guys, since day one, but they have a fantastic story there, right? Where it's the same platform. It can run local in AWS, Azure, or GCP. On bare metal hardware, same story. You don't have to re-operationalize, learn the things. So, but at the end of the day, that's what we're seeing, right? It's hybrid, and hybrid's here to stay, and so I think you're going to see that people are realizing, right, the costs, and you're seeing the same thing in the AI world, right? As you do stuff within Claude or OpenAI or some of these other platforms or Gemini, it's like your costs. It's just like the cloud, right? It's like, what are my token costs across each of these? So it's which thankfully you guys with your cost monitoring have done a really good job at showing what that cost is for these workloads that are running in Azure and or AWS to help drive that. So
yeah, it's again, we can talk about this topic all day. I think we will want to cover other things, but I agree. Hybrid is. It's interesting that on the VDI DaaS front, we do see a very obvious shift to cloud modern VDI. Right, moving to AVD or Windows 365, it's becoming, obviously there are quite a few folks staying with Citrix or Omnissa, but it's a big trend. But as this is happening, on the other end, we do see, as you just said, Shane, we do see a lot of customers, reevaluating their cloud, deployment model due to cost, privacy, compliance. It's yeah, things going to be very interesting in the next 2 or 3 years. We'll see.
Yeah, well, that's why I love you guys. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about ControlUp is you're agnostic at the end of the day, right? So, you guys stayed true to that core since day one. It doesn't matter if you're Omnissa, you're AVD, you're Azure, you're AWS. I mean, Microsoft, I mean, is kicking ass right now with Cloud PC. I'm actually, I run full time. This whole conversation, I'm in my Cloud PC, running 8x32 Cloud PC, Zoom optimization. You couldn't even tell unless I told you. Use it full time. I run it from my iPad most of the time. I absolutely love it. It has its challenges with certain things, but you guys have done a really good job about bringing your value, because Cloud PC at the end of the day is basically, it's all provisioned. It's running on the AVD, control plane, same technology, but it's all as a service. But you have the same limitations, right? You don't have all the other capabilities that you guys are bringing to the table for, from a monitoring perspective, remote control, the operation pieces. So there's still those challenges. It's all managed by Intune. But you guys are doing a good job starting to add value, on top of that.
Yeah,
so.
plus it's never a one-step process to transition between those, right? And most of the customers, like my favorite deployments to see in our UI is when I see a customer deployment that has 2 technologies or 3 technologies side by side. And the fact that we can support multiple, sometimes it's so cool just to see here's the cloud deployment, here's the maybe like Windows 365, and here's the on-prem Citrix, and here's how
compare the upload time, login duration, and latency between the solutions.
And see like and it's gradual, right? Because they try things out, and one of the things that we're seeing over the years that are definitely shifting is the variety, right? It's the variance of different technologies within a customer, right? So we in the beginning we used to see like very pure shops, right? Like only Citrix, only this, only that, and now it's like super common to see multiple solutions being evaluated side by side because they shift themselves, right? Especially in the cloud, right? They're offering maybe one thing now, and like 6 months from now it may be totally different. Definitely cost-wise, right? And also in terms of the technology offering itself.
Yeah, the key is you try not to be too locked into where you could, easily shift, right? It's if some of the technology, I'd say a lot of the base became a commodity, right? Where you can there's key value add. You look at some of the things Citrix are doing, they obviously pissed off a huge part of the bottom part of the market, unfortunately. But for the larger customers, the enterprises, we call it, putting the scuba suit on, right? You put that Citrix scuba suit and you're going all in, you go vertical in the environment. There's some great technology, but it's for there's other folks that aren't seeing that because the costs are high. So they have these dispersed, a little bit of Omnis, a little bit of AVD, a little bit of cloud PC. Maybe they're doing a lot of stuff with AWS, right? And looking at workspaces, and you guys obviously provide that agnostic story, which is pretty awesome. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, let's jump into the next question and sort of change subjects a little bit and get into the big AI conversation, right? And that's always the elephant in the room, right? At least nowadays. Yoni, Eugene, this question's directed at you first, and then we'll let Shane add value here. So recently we had an acquisition, our latest acquisition, and what's the story behind our recent AI acquisition, and how does it play into the bigger vision, ControlUp's vision?
Good question.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I'm sitting next to Eugene. Eugene is one of those AI skeptics, and it's very I recommend everyone to have Eugene next to him these days. These fabulous times where you just ask AI for everything, for recipes and what to do tomorrow, and you need to keep that under some kind of, I guess, suspicion. But here's the thing, right?
Not everybody needs to be enthusiastic, right?
Exactly. Balance. The acquisition we did is strategic for us because what we're about to release following this acquisition is a module called ControlUp Connect, which takes AI to, I think, the next level everyone is looking for, right? So let me start. But what we have today is our AI assistant. Was officially released, not so long ago, just a couple of months ago, already proving very valuable for customers, right? Because unlike, I think, a year or two ago, the models are so smart and the data we have is so wide, is that, you can get awesome value by good old, questions and get, troubleshoot data and do the, correlations or whatnot using the really smart models we have today and get a lot of value from that. However, this is still mainly in the what we call, let's say, visibility area, right? So it's not directly fixing issues. And I think people these days, and rightly so, are expecting AI to go to the next level, which is to actually fix issues, right? The models are smarter, things, we have enough guardrails, we have enough, governance in place to actually go to the next level. And ControlUp Connect is all about taking the data we have, using the smart models out there and the stuff we added to it from a governance guardrail perspective, and actually fixing issues autonomously, right? So what you will see, soon enough, it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Let me give you an example, okay? Let's say that, the end user is about to start a Zoom meeting, like just we did, or a Teams meeting, and the camera is broken, okay? In the old world, right, even with the best deck solutions, it usually means opening a ticket, waiting for the support engineer to remote control your endpoint and, finding out that the driver was disabled or you have a bad, version installed or whatnot, and fixing that. This can be anything from, 30 minutes if you're a VIP, or 7 days if you are, not so VIP and your support sucks, right? So it's a big issue. Now, what we are seeing with Connect today, and it's pretty amazing. I'm doing this for a long time, and seeing, AI troubleshooting these issues and fixing them, it's mind-blowing. But what we have today is, the user is prompting for, my webcam is not working, my Word application is not loading, I don't have enough free space, whatever the case may be. And the new AI module is actually using our agent data. It has the ability to get more data on its own, right? Obviously, if the admin improves it. And it takes in all of that, it's creating what we call a remediation plan, which can be, as simple as, unblocking a device driver, but it can be as complicated as upgrading to a fixed version, changing some configuration and applying them. And you just see the whole loop, right? You see it like analyzing the issue, fixing the issue, and providing a full solution to the end user in, less than, a few minutes, right? So what would take just, a week ago, a manual support ticket and maybe a few hours to fix, it's now happening in 2 or 3 minutes. And better than that, because of the technology we acquired, one of the awesome things they were doing, and now we are incorporating in the platform, is the ability to create patterns from these issues, right? So it's not just each time we need to come again and have an expensive model, analyzing the artifacts and the issue and come up with a new solution. We actually, once we have enough, evidence about this specific issue and about the remediation plan, this new model is creating what we call a pattern, which means next time someone complains about something similar, and we have enough evidence and enough confidence that this is the same issue and the same remediation will work, we're going to fix it with a low cost because we don't need so much tokens, and we're going to fix it with very high accuracy. And we already have customers, maybe some of them are in the audience right now. We've been design partners, and I'll give you just one. You see, I'm a bit excited about this, but I'll give you one simple example. It's amazing how many issues can come from users deleting their shortcuts on the desktop. Right? Sounds easy enough, and then before AI Connect, before ControlUp Connect, before AI, the user, if he's not, an expert enough, which is the case sadly many times, this means a manual support ticket, remote control, finding it in the recycle bin, or trying to recreate the shortcuts. AI is doing it in a minute, right? And think about 10,000 users, and think about 500 of those tickets, on a weekly basis. You see the ROI, value coming in very, very fast, very strong. So, yeah, let's see what Eugene thinks about that. I think he has an interesting view, but
yeah, no,
see what the skeptic thinks.
I just thought it was. I mean, any discussion where everybody thinks the same is less of a interesting discussion. I think. But here's the thing, right? Sure. So the title of this session, or the topic, was EUC in the AI world, which I think speaks loudly to how we are looking at all of this, right? So to me, AI is a tool, is a means to an end, right? It's not a means within itself, right? And I'm not too worried about the question, how does EUC fit in the AI world? I'm kind of, it's more interesting to me, how does AI fit in the EUC paradigm and in the DEX challenges, right? So to me, AI is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. And I think this is an important distinction between how different companies, I guess, different vendors and different philosophies approach this. I'm very I read Hacker News a lot, and I every day I come across 2-3 articles that talk about AI in terms of practical results, right? So what works and what doesn't, and this is totally fascinating, right? And I've spent a lot of time, just actually today, I've spent some time evaluating some responses from our AI assistant, which is another thing we should maybe mention a little bit more. So the AI assistant is actually like a chatbot, right? Pretty conventional chatbot that is connected to the tools that allow it to query our basically the data sources that hold everything that the ControlUp agents are gathering, and is able to do a lot of interesting investigations. So we can expand on that a little bit later, but I think my main point I'd like to make here is that given any problem area, right? We want to use the best tools. We want to use the best tools, whether it's if manual is the best way to go for a specific challenge, then manual is the way to go. If automatic is the way to go, great. If AI can help us, and we can talk about what we're noticing are the areas where AI really shines, and what are the areas that we're kind of already starting to notice that maybe the traditional approaches, for now at least, work better and faster and more efficiently, in a more predictable way as well, right? So what Yoni just mentioned with the pattern recognition and the way that the memory of this solution basically stores patterns and tries to match problems to known patterns. This actually speaks to the challenge of predictability, because nobody wants a solution that is brilliant but unpredictable, right?
Yeah.
It can be brilliant, and this is one of the things that kind of like the way that people describe solutions that are genius, right? Part of a genius is some degree of unpredictability, right? They say this about artists, musicians, whatnot, right? So there's always some degree of a surprise, right? And I'm thinking like I love surprises and I love geniuses in arts, but in our business, sometimes this unpredictable actions or stuff that we don't really know how to expect. This is not what we're paying for.
I'll give you one example. You gave me exactly about that before we hear Shane. Awesome thoughts on AI. Like ControlUp has awesome automation already, right? So if you need to detect that you have a runaway process in your endpoint that's eating 9% CPU, and the right thing to do is to kill it, let's have a simple automation that detects that and kills it, and no need to call Claude or OpenAI or Gemini to figure this one out, right? And that's exactly, I think, the challenge now is to use AI for what makes sense, and keep it cost effective and regulated and contained, and use the other tools for relevant jobs. But yeah, it's exciting, and yeah, Shane, would love your thoughts on this. You're seeing actual customer using it out there, so.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. One of the things Eugene said there, right, is it kind of was an important comment around the confidence, right? And I think that's the biggest thing we see, right? It would just or generations today is right. We're in such a fast-paced world, right? It's between ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude, and there's OpenClaw and Hermes, all these different things that are out there. This attention, we only have so much attention. What do you want to call it? The TikTok generation, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's you get a couple shots at this, right? As a company that's building, everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's got a workflow engine. Everyone's building a chatbot, right? And really the folks that have the data are king, right? And you guys have a lot of data, and being able to bring that source from these different, right? Because Citrix has Adrian, they have their chatbot, and then you have I don't think Nissa has one yet, but if you look at some of the other solutions, they all have ServiceNow has their bot, right? And so it's being able to kind of connect these together. Where I think the true value is. But what I love what you guys did is you put the chatbot out maybe a year ago, and just like everybody else at first, right? It was okay, it was some challenges, but you guys pulled it right away, right? And you said, let's get this right. And then I went and I knew obviously the acquisition, I just been slammed. I have a chance to really play with it until like a couple days ago. I was like, let me dig in. So I went into the chatbot, and I've been on my cloud PC, I've been playing around, right? I've been messing with Claude and doing some coding and stuff. And I would say vibe coding because I'm not like a coder by trade, and building some cool stuff, man. It got me into I was built like this local scrubber that's for scripting. So basically, using MCP with Claude, it'll basically say built all these rules before sending anything to Claude. It's going to go use a local container that scrubs all the data, sends it to Claude, rehydrate. I'm playing around. And like my cloud PC has been running like shit. I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity to talk. Let's test this out. So I go into the Pulse, AI, right, or whatever in the console. I start doing some searches, and I'm like, hey, like my cloud PC is running, so can you show me all the cloud PCs? We got like 10 or so in the org, not a huge amount right now. Everyone's kind of testing it, and it found me, and it's like, okay, got Shane's cloud PC. Okay, here's the layout. Interesting. Here's the CPU and memory over the last 2 weeks. But then it kind of continued the conversation, and it's like, hey, it looks like you're running WSL, right? So the Linux, layer on top of Windows. It's using a lot of PC. Oh, wait a second, you're also running Docker. Interesting. Looks like you're running Claude, and you're working on some kind of project. And then it found the local project I was working on, and it just had the name Scrubber. It seems like you're trying to do a Scrubber, and the correlation that it built in a 5-minute conversation. I was super impressed from like looking at it less than a year ago to where you guys are today. And it built just this beautiful timeline. I took a screenshot of it because it showed PowerShell to Claude to Docker to WSL, and then showed the whole entire execution history. It was really awesome. And then I started going down the rabbit hole of what you guys are positioning, and got really excited because
like Sean, what I'm seeing, like from like the marrying the data we have, we do know like every 1 minute or every 3 seconds, we know what the user is up to, which resources are being consumed, like location. Look, we have, as you said, a lot of data. It seems like, marrying this with a smart LLM that has been trained on, our data set and knows everything, that's where the magic happens, right? And by the way, I invite you and everyone listening here to taste this at scale, right? What I'm doing, I'm asking it, hey, not what's happening on my cloud PC, but hey, look on all of our endpoints for the last, 4 weeks. Are you seeing anything that is causing performance anomalies or, app crash anomalies? And it's smart enough to query our data in a smart way. And instead of inventing a UI, a new UI, new dashboard for each use case, you can now, use this. And it's a game changer, right? And we're going to allow automations against it. And really the sky is the limit. But yeah, your example is great.
So one of the things that I'm seeing as a pattern common pattern between a lot of the questions that people are asking is like, get this, right? It's changing the way people it's changing the questions. It's not about changing definitely it's changing the answers, it's getting deeper, it's trying to correlate stuff, but it also after a while, people start asking questions that I would never see before, right? And the two types that I would kind of point out is one is what Yoni just said, like, what do you see that is irregular, right? Or what should we focus on, right? Like those open-ended questions where they don't point to a specific thing, but they go like very open-ended and like, because maybe my environment is super diverse, there's a lot of issues, and there's always the challenge of like, everything is red or everything is green, but I know that there are some problems. So how would you go about prioritizing and focusing on the right things? So a lot of people actually approach the AI assistant with those open-ended questions. So that's like one example is, what should I focus on? Very open-ended, very common. And another question which is fascinating is the questions that start with why, right? Like imagine like all the types of BI solutions or monitoring solutions we used to use, all the stuff that Shane, that you and Jarian used to show during the monitoring bake-off, right? So like there was no widget anywhere that answered the question why, right? It was always how much or like how many, what kind of, who, maybe where, sure, but why, right? So getting to the root cause and obviously, like why is the toughest question in every domain. And those are the most fascinating places where you kind of try to follow the AI's logic to where it goes with root cause analysis.
Sometimes it's still too confident when it's wrong, but seeing it, analyzing everything, and tell you, hey, it seems like you upgraded this agent a week ago on most devices or on Dell devices, and since then we see this issue. Here's the why. That's mind blowing. Yeah, I agree.
And I think there was a question we can kind of weave it into, like we got the next COPIT about shadow AI, all this kind of stuff that's just a general, like something we talked about in the past, right? But I think one of the questions was like, hey, if you're using this remediation, you're doing the automation on a machine, is there any way to revert this fix, right? And that's a valid point and honestly a valid concern. I have so many thoughts on the topic, but is the challenge of like is the governance and the safety, right? Because people are it's like the terms of service, right? Like they change the terms, like who the hell was reading that three, next, right? Everyone's excited, Claude Dispatch and Open Claude. People just want to hit that button and let it work for you, right? And you are opening up your machine to your context. With your context, if you don't have good governance, you have access to all sorts of stuff, right? And so it becomes these big challenges. And I think you guys are so well positioned because of the agent, because of what you have in the browser. Like you can see all this going on. And it's amazing to be able to take the next step and try to remediate these things. But what if it makes the wrong decision, right? Which could happen, right? And so how do you protect it is a great question. Are you snapshotting the machine? Are you doing any kind of rollback? What does that look like?
That's a very good question. I'll answer it. The acquisition we did, right, which is going to be released as the ControlUp Connect module. We have a few, safeguards, guardrails, options to protect ourselves or the customers from what you just mentioned, right? So one thing we added early on, and that was both based on design partners' feedback and what seems to be a pretty common standard these days is an admin approval process, right? So even before the AI module decides to run an investigation plan, we show the user, hey, here's the script or the commands we would like to run on the endpoint. Do you approve that or not? And we do the same thing for the remediation plan as well. So, at least for the initial steps of trying to define a pattern, the admin has all the time in the world to look on the commands, right, and decide, hey, is this something I want to execute or not, and go and do that. Now, beyond that, and that's going back to patterns, we're going to allow customers to fully automate well-known patterns, right? So if you already have an approved investigation remediation plan, right, let's say copy back an LNK file from the recycle bin to the desktop, you can approve that specific pattern. And once this issue happens again and the user is reporting that or we find that, then this can happen, autonomously. But all the other things, right, generic investigations, generic, remediation plans, they have to be admin approved, right? So that's one thing which is in the core of that. Regarding rolling back, we have looked at this a few times in the past. It's really like sometimes trying to roll back and create more damage than just trying to run another script to fix the issue again.
Plus, even with manual and existing solutions, right? If your help desk support tier whatever connects to your machine and performs an update on some software, sometimes good luck rolling it back. It's a hard question. It's a hard problem.
Not to mention that if you kill an Excel process that was not saved, there is no rollback. Man. You can't roll back
my favorite metaphor is that you can't make a cow from minced meat, right? So like sometimes you can, but it won't do moo, So
that's really graphic
for the vegans out there. Man.
So anyway, it's the thing is that AI in the last couple of years, it's been a great source of entertainment, right? Because we're reading all the stories about people who screwed up royally with the budgets and the home automation and whatnot, right? And I think we're in the next few years for sure we're gonna see major headlines that are going to hopefully entertain us more than scare us, but I'm not sure. But in any case, the thing is that with any kind of automation, think about all the stuff that we automated in the last as a humanity, right? In the last 100 years, you don't automate first before making sure that the thing works manually and you're very sure that it's the right thing to do.
100%.
You don't bring an electric chainsaw and connect it to a timer, and leave it at home. That's there's just common sense needs to come into the picture, right? And whenever we're talking about automations, so far we've been looking at what people do with automations, years before AI, right? And not every automation use case makes sense. Some of the automation use cases people employ are just too naive, or sometimes honestly just too risky or too careless in the way that they're implemented. And I think it's only half connected to AI. I think it's a lot of this is just common sense and accountability and responsibility in how you employ your solutions. And no amount of rollback and no amount of guardrails are going to guarantee the total safety of this, right? I think what can lead to a better world in that regard is that we always keep an eye on this new beast, right? And we don't let it run loose across our IT estates.
AI does pose new challenges. I'll give just one example that I felt luckily it wasn't a test machine, but I was using testing ECU Connect to help me free some space on my hard drive.
What can go wrong with that?
Can you
no
that? And he said sure, and he deleted all my files. And I'm like, okay, that's not good. So with the manual automation, right, the PowerShell script would only delete temp files and whatnot. So there is an issue here, right? And we need to carefully watch AI. It's like a child with superpowers, right? Very naive, very strong. And we need to watch it, right? That's the right thing to do.
Perfect. Okay, we have 15 minutes left. You guys give long answers, which I love. They're great answers. Great answers. But I want to get to some questions quick, and we want to get to findings before we run out of time, too. So real quick, we have 3 questions from Mike, all different mics. So unrelated to AI, are there any milestones for getting completely off the ControlUp console so everything is done in the browser-based console?
Ooh, wow. Classic question.
Real quick, though. Quick answers.
No, very quick. So yes, what we are doing, and it's a big topic, and maybe some customers heard it or not, but we are working on, a new data pipeline, new backend, new application, so to speak, that will consolidate everything we do in VDI and physical endpoints. And when we complete this one, it's probably the biggest thing we're working on. This means we can, finally drop the legacy .NET console. So it's been worked on, right? Probably a 12, 18-month thing. But that's the path to get rid of that. So.
It's like the legacy the .NET console. It's like a 60s band. It has like there are some people are huge fans of it, and they're never gonna let go.
Well, we'll keep them happy.
Love it. Okay, next question. So, and I like this one. Where there be a community portal or customer portal, a way of getting a community portal for the patterns like there are for scripts, dashboards, and everything that have the custom, or do we have to do everything in custom?
Oh, that's a great
in-house
question.
custom.
As far as I know, and maybe you can do a follow-up, Doug, with our AI, product leads, but as far as I know, the plan is to indeed have like a cloud-based patterns, a bit similar to the dashboard gallery and the script library. So customers can see that and then approve that in their own system. That's what I'm
it makes no reason why not to.
Yeah, similar to what we're doing with the findings, there is a lot of power in seeing a pattern across multiple customers, because everybody likes to think that their IT shop is so unique. Well, at least in some regards, when there's a new bad stuff happening, the assumption is that, sometimes it's just you, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's across the board.
Yeah,
you bet. And we'll get to the findings in a second. One more Mike question. I'd like to see the ability to have AI evaluate event logs being captured by ControlUp and having it report patterns and or possible root causes to issue errors. Is this something we're thinking about? Is this something we can do?
But you can do it now. Like the AI assistant can query everything we collect, right? So if it's that CU4D, for example, if you add a few more Windows event log to the data collection, they will end up in our indexes, and then AI assistant can definitely analyze them at scale. So I would argue it's doable today. Maybe we'll need some specific MCP tools to make it a bit more efficient, but try today, right? Ask AI assistant, tell him, hey, here is the Win event log index. Go search for this and analyze it at scale. Let me know what you think. I think you'll already see some value out of the box right now. So.
You better definitely let us know. Let us know how it works for you. Try it and post it in the community. We would love to know.
Yeah, and on that note, just on the community side, and I think it's just because that's always been at the core of ControlUp since day one was community. It just seems like that's the next evolution for these, we call patterns and or prompts or questions. Like you can see that telemetry. If this question or this type of pattern's been asked so many times, this is a popular one. It's got really high confidence level. We're going to bring that into the forefront, right? So everyone else can just click and go. And I think that's naturally what's just going to probably happen, right? It's what you guys have done in the past, and just makes a load of sense when you have that telemetry across all the customers. It's like this is the most popular, prompt for this situation in healthcare. I mean that's really powerful.
You bet. Well, that brings us to the findings, and I think, and I know Shane, you're just hyped up on this beyond belief. And we just released a new finding today. So first of all, ControlUp findings, as I think Shane called them, the gold mine. You're sitting on a bunch of data from thousands of customers. We can look and throw AI at this. We can throw our minds, Eugene's mind at this, and we can start seeing some real world trends and benchmarking and things like that. Can you explain what are these findings? Where are we going with this? Things like that. And of course, Shane, maybe you can add why you believe this is the coolest thing since
Yeah, and
mince
I'll add in
meat
after the
into a
guys talk
cow.
about the vision a little bit. But yeah.
Maybe just you want to cover that? That's your.
Yeah, sure. So basically, it's kind of like over time we've looked at the data and we saw that the conversations that were happening. I think I remember one customer actually asking us about what's happening with the competition. They wanted to know. I think they were like a healthcare provider, and they really wanted to know what do their competitors use, right? Or what kind of problems are they having? And that back in the day, it kind of made us think, well, there's a lot to learn from the bigger context, right? The larger context of what's happening across the customer base. And actually, one of the things that we're learning from that is that a lot of people think, okay, we're in this healthcare business, so we have our own problems, which don't exist in the banking industry or in manufacturing. Well, actually, a lot of the technical stuff is across the board, right? Because and let's take the example that we mentioned of the finding that we published today. Basically, in the last couple of weeks, we're seeing Outlook, the new version of Outlook, OLK,
the new Coke,
new Outlook,
New Coke.
okay, exit, right? So it started crashing a couple of weeks ago. It's very clear that it's a new version, and it's hundreds
Need it to
of
crash for
customers,
good,
right?
so we can stay on classic.
And unlike the stuff that is kind of like background services that we sometimes find that crash, I can't imagine a scenario where Outlook crashing is not disrupting somebody's work. It's like such a critical applications. Back in the days when I was totally hooked on Outlook, I couldn't do any business at all without Outlook working. Yoni is still a little bit having trouble kicking the habit, but he's still doing some Outlook every now and then. But the thing with the recent crash was that we just put it out there, right? We say, what are we seeing? And the surprising thing is that you Google it and you don't find anything. There's no support case. There's no, even Reddit posts are kind of quiet, and it's hundreds of environments, right? And it's happening en masse, right? And with the previous findings that we published, which sometimes were kind of with really niche products, right? Some video conferencing software, some components of backend stuff that shouldn't bother the end users that much, right? Every once in a while, we kind of found some trace of a Reddit post somewhere, and people said, yeah, I'm also seeing this. Sometimes the vendor kind of publishes it. Sometimes also there's nothing. And once we publish it, the vendors actually reach out to us and say, hey, guys, we saw you publish this thing. So, just so you know, we're actually looking at it. And this is the problem that we got.
So I would say on the doing good one, then we'll let Shane, tell us what he thinks. But I'm seeing two ways of doing good here. Okay, one, if an issue is plaguing your environment, whether it's Outlook or Word crashing or Citrix client or whatever, if you know for a fact it's happening for 500 other customers, it's a different story. All right, you don't need to troubleshoot your own system. You need to, go to the vendor and ask him to fix it. So that's one way of doing good by using this data. And the other is to help vendors recognize they have an issue in a quicker way. Right? It happened a few times where and we actually contacted Microsoft about DigiDay, so let's see how fast it responds. But sometimes they're not aware, right? With all their fancy telemetry, the small ControlUp actually find it first, and then it triggers the vendor to produce a faster solution, a faster new build with a fix, and everyone is happy. So, yeah, I'm very happy we did that, and I have to say Shane's enthusiasm was a big part of us, deciding to do that. So, yeah, Shane, what do you think, man?
I know I'm super excited about it. I mean, it's something for years, just like, man, this should be just the coolest thing to do, right? And it really started with as a DJ made a note about it as well in the chat about the logon duration, right? Back in the Brightform days, the community benchmark for logon duration, right? That was kind of the way out there in the stars, was kind of that vision.
27
right?
27 seconds.
The answer.
27, man. Is that what it is right now? It's going up.
No, that's what it was 10 plus years ago. And guess what it is now? Do you think it's better?
I think well, I think it's a big depends there, but I would say it's probably over 30 now, probably.
Yeah, it's something like that. So it's
35 or
creeping up,
something.
basically. It's creeping up
Yeah.
every day. Like,
well, just compare a Windows XP login to Windows 25 server login. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, no, I think the biggest thing for you guys, man, with like you said, I think doing good, obviously you guys could have direct relationships with all these ISVs way before just around all these things crashing. I mean, you have all that insight, you have performance insight, you have key context for verticals too. I mean, you look at healthcare, you look at the financial industry, you got legal, you got all this context for these environments. You can bring it all together. If you think about it across all your customers, everyone that's on the call, all the thousands of customers, there's a lot of similarities across all these customers. We all operate the same way. The users have the same workflows. We all have the same apps. We're all patching the same apps. We all have the same change control process. Some people have better, some people don't. But you can kind of see it all, and I think being able to take a step back and say, hey, before this application gets updated, you guys could see the whole stack. You could see, okay, they're a Citrix customer. There's a big VDA update coming out. Let's go ahead and do just like blue-green test, right? You're basically going out and saying, okay, across 25% of our customer base, we're seeing this VDA update out there. And by the way, in the medical space, these guys are running Epic or Meditech, and we're seeing a 10% increase in performance in utilization, and put that warning out right to those customers. And you end up becoming this just gold standard really for performance insights or just really anything, right? It's not just performance. It's like, what's that next step, right? Whether it's a new application, new version update, you have new patching comes out from Microsoft. How many times have they released a patch for something breaks, right? You're able to tell that way ahead of the time. And the cool thing about doing good is you guys are putting it out there for free right now with findings, right? These are the big impacting ones. And so I think that's just a great way to be that gold standard for what these findings are, right? I think I'm really super excited about it. I think you guys are just scratching the surface with what's possible. So
we are trying to expand that to, as you said, like resource consumption benchmarks and other things. Will take a while, but we're on it. Yeah,
we'll get there. We'll get there. Hey, we have 2 minutes left, and I have one more question for you guys, but we really want to do this fast, okay? Because we only have 2 minutes.
Lightning round.
Yeah, lightning round. So this is the human question, right? So we talked about AI a lot, and AI doing all this great stuff for us. So let's keep this thing human for a second. With all the automation, where does the human expertise still matter? Does it matter?
I can tell you that it matters even more than ever, because if you put someone who doesn't have the context and domain expertise in front of the AI investigations and outputs, the results can be quite bad. If you know what you're doing, AI is exponentially making you better and faster, right? But I think combining expertise with the AI superpowers is great. Still very much required, the way I see it, for sure.
I agree with that. I run into that problem all the time. I find myself doing something I should not be doing, and I'm using AI to do it, and then I send it to someone, they're like, yeah, that's all wrong. Like, but it looked good. Yeah. It looked good. So I'll save Eugene for last on this one. Shane, you're pretty...
That's also a way of testing like who's working with, right? Because not always people actually care about the content. Sometimes they just need the volume and the speed.
Yeah, and it's like Yoni said, it's more important than ever to have someone in the loop there, and that Claude and all they're trying to prompt and say, hey, is it okay if I do this or do this, touch this directory or touch this file and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's a domain expertise, and these folks are the architects, know the environment, that have the context of the environment, the organization. And I think it's super important to be able to have someone be able to check the workflow. That's also the biggest challenge right now, is right, you have all these I guess what's the citizen develop, like these folks inside the organization that are all developers now. They're all making their own tools. They're all out there doing this stuff, and you can build some crazy things, but at the end of the day, what happens when that breaks? Or it's like, if you don't have that coding knowledge, you don't have someone in the organization that understands that, provides a life cycle around it. I think it's just creating a whole new world of challenges. So I think it's super important, and it's much needed. So
yeah,
we're not going anywhere yet.
No.
Not quite yet.
I think that you guys said it well, is that AI is a tool. And how many tools do you have working for themselves? You don't. You have the engineer, the carpenter, the tool user. it's an assistant. It's a very smart assistant. It's really great. It's really fast. And like Yoni said, it's exponential, but it still needs someone to hold on to it, and probably for quite some time. So
we need to get to a point where it's like the Roomba, you know, like the robot you kind of release at home, and you know that the worst case scenario is what we all know from the stories about the Roomba, right? But
I don't.
But that's the worst case scenario. You know, it's not going to ruin your house permanently. You know?
Yeah.
So we're over time. You know, if you guys ever get a chance to hang out with these people, head to an E2E, one of the events in America, and catch up with Shane. They're a great time. You can, you know, we went through an hour like this. And really, when I bring them back again, we're going to have to do it for an hour and a half. There's no way to do this in an hour.
So much more to talk about, man.
There is so much more to talk about.
Thanks, Doug. Much appreciated, man. And thanks, Shane, for joining us. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Shane.
No, it's always a good time. It's exciting and honestly, these types of conversations have to keep happening. We all have to learn from each other because everything's happening too quick. We got to share information, got to learn from each other. And if anything, get out there and play with it. Put your hands on it. Test it. You got to
break it.
100%.
Thanks.
Yeah, break it, fix it, break it, fix it, break it, fix it. I used to, when I was an engineer years ago, people would ask me, how did you learn this? I was like, I never read the manual. I broke it. And then I had to fix it. And then I remembered it. Right?
Yeah.
So that is the truth. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this. We're going to do another one next month and another one the month after. And you know what? There's other days too. So if you want more, we can even do 2 a month, you know? So please let us know what we can do to help you. And on that note, thank you, Yoni, Eugene, Shane. I truly appreciate your time. Everyone, have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Bye, guys.
Have a good one.
Take care all.